Thank you. Yes. Yes.
I should keep on talking.
Yeah, keep on talking. Sure.
Oh, okay. So, for my generation, personal issues were a big deal. Things like your sexual orientation, what color you are. I mean, I really am starting to see a blending going on amongst the population, an acceptance amongst a wide array of people from the entire political spectrum. And to me, it's heartwarming. I'm very optimistic. I mean, our country is going through a period of, I think, unwarranted pessimism about the future. I think our problem is that we look this far ahead, and really we need to think 10, 20 years down the road. Where are we going to be? Because I've developed, being in my mid-50s now, I remember when there was this scare about Russia, and then there was, oh my God, if China gets the bomb, they're definitely going to attack us. And now we're worried about Iran, as if, it's a fait accompli. They're going to get a bomb and they're going to use it on somebody. So, how this connects to what's happened to me is that this, I think, sea change in our culture, this influx of foreigners that we've had in the last 20, 30 years, and this change in the young generation's feelings about it's okay for you to do whatever you want as long as you're not forcing it down my throat. That this has made my acceptance as a family physician much easier since 3 years ago when I transitioned very publicly. It's 4 years ago.
And you'll tell our audience this is Dr. Deborah Bershel, and she will tell us about her transition.
Well, I am Dr. Deborah Bershel, and for those of you who may have heard me speak a year ago, I guess I can continue talking about my journey, and you can double check any of the facts and see if I've switched them. But life is continuing to be pretty good for me. It's I look upon things a lot differently than I did in my early 50s, where I looked at as though I was making a sharp right or a sharp left in my life, from living my life as a male physician who was happily married to somebody who was trying to negotiate some very rough waters to try to keep my practice alive and hopefully keep my family together. And then just learning that there are just some things that one can't control, and my marriage has ended, and I'm still struggling with some family members to garner their acceptance. But aside from that, I am now really looking at my future as something that is in flux, and that's good. And I don't mean that it's in flux regarding my gender or my sexual orientation, etc. I feel like I no longer have to control my life and make sure that it ends up in a certain way, like some sort of storybook. But that as long as I feel like I'm sort of in control of the helm here, that it's going to be exciting.
In control of what? The
helm?
Yes. Oh.
Maybe I'm using. I'm not. I actually don't know much about ships.
Yes,
but
you're in control of. You have in some ways control of.
of my future, but I don't need to make sure that it ends up in a certain way. So in the last year, I mean, I could give you sort of an example of a little journey that I've been through in the last few years. I've had a wonderful relationship with another woman. It seems to be coming to a close as far as the partner type relationship goes, but we're still really wonderful friends, and we've learned a lot from each other. And one of those things that I learned from her was that I do have some issues regarding attention. Now, I'm a person who went through medical school, residency, without needing even a cup of coffee to stay focused and alert. Yet there were some, I'm not that much different as far as my, let's say, I'll just call it ADD issues were, but I never really had to deal with them with another person who was bothered by them. So I like to juggle a lot of things at once. I would like to ride on the exercise bike and watch the Daily Show with Jon Stewart and get a few laughs in. And then if my partner would walk in, I would start talking to her, and it wouldn't bother me at all. But she did not like the overstimulation, and she said, "You got to do something about this, and I want you to take medication for ADD." And I'm going, "What? Are you crazy? I don't need medication. I've lived my whole life without it." But she did get me to think, and I decided that I would go through an alternative treatment for attention deficit disorder using neurofeedback. While I was learning how to speak, learning from a speech therapist how to sort of alter my speech so that it could appear in a more feminine fashion, she told me that she was doing this alternative treatment for attention deficit disorder at the Hollowell Center. So I tucked that away in the back of my mind. I said, I'll go ahead and try this out. This was about a year ago, and it's been truly amazing the kind of changes that have occurred as a result. I think my anxiety has dropped many magnitudes. Even though it was not all that bad, I didn't realize it was there until it was gone. And that is, in and of itself, made me less distractible because I'm less worried about what's going on around me. So perhaps I've drifted off from the original point I was trying to make, but being open, listening to what my partner was telling me, and not being rigid like I used to be and saying, I'm not going to do anything about this, you like it or lump it, this is who I am. And instead I listened to her and I said, maybe there's some way that we can get around this without my having to do something that, like take medicine that I would, was anathema to me. So that's really sort of my credo now, is being open to what life brings me, and it's made my life a lot more pleasant and exciting. So, might you have any questions along these lines?
Well, one, you're parting from this partner, this wonderful partner.
Right.
Do you want to tell us why?
Well, I just think that there's more to relationship, and I think she would agree with me. There's more to a relationship than chemistry and actually having we have a lot of similar passions, actually. In some ways, we're actually very similar, but there were really just some differences in style that just made for some friction. And I think at this stage in my life, without having, neither of us have kids together, it's felt so much better, just sort of moving in the new direction of just being really good friends. And it's allowed our friendship to blossom. So that's really it. I don't think I need to go into the particulars. We just had some irreconcilable differences, but not enough that would break up a wonderful friendship.
So you've had the experience as a man making love to a woman.
Right.
For many years, your wife.
At least I thought I was a man.
Yeah, at least
yes.
When you thought you were a man.
Yeah.
And now you've had an experience of a woman making love to a woman.
Right.
So, do you have is there any significant difference?
Well, I really think that it would be very small-minded of me to extrapolate out from two very individual experiences.
We'll leave them out of it, just for yourself, though. Just how did it feel different? You don't talk about them, but how did it feel for you, and if it's possible without talking about them?
I think I could say that it's a challenge, because there's always this chemistry, and I would be misleading people to saying, oh, this was better for me because I'm now a woman. This was better for me when I was a man. I would say one thing that did change dramatically was after I started taking estrogen, that I noticed my skin was way more sensitive. That light touch, and as even before, it's not to say that you can't be aroused as a male by being touched in non-typically erogenous zones, but basically just about any part of my body became potentially, with the right person, erogenous. What I will say is that, during this transition period, for the last 6-7 years, I've started to realize that I think I'm more attracted to men than I am to women. And I don't know that really was the case before, growing up. Did I, suppress it? I really can't say, but I know who I am now, and that having relations with a man is the thought of having relations, imagining having relations with a man, is what's most appealing to me. And it's not what broke up my last relationship, but I think that's really where I am now.
So is that and you will tell me if any of these questions you're not comfortable with.
Or I could smack you in the face if you get fresh.
Yes. Feminine, right? Not punch.
Yeah.
Not punch, but smack.
Smack. I can punch you where you'll really regret it. But you are having a procedure tomorrow, so I'm gonna go easy on you down below.
It's good to be with a kind, loving woman.
Yeah.
So, let's see if I can remember my question. So
I do. Well, let me interrupt you and just say my sexual orientation and my gender identity are two very different items. There might have been a little bit of confusion as I was transitioning as to whether I was going to evolve as a heterosexual woman or bisexual, or
yes.
I'm a or was I going to be a heterosexual woman? So they're different. My sexual orientation should not be confused at all with
the fact
my
that you're
gender.
a woman.
Yes.
So maybe that's even a more interesting question. What is the difference in experiencing the world as a woman versus experiencing it as a man?
That's a loaded question. Let me say, experiencing the world as a person who's happy about themselves is a better world.
Wow.
That I could say that I really see the world differently as a woman. I was a very optimistic, positive, empathetic person as before I transitioned. And I think I really could connect with people well.
Yes.
Before, and I think I can do it just as well now. I don't know that I do it any better or
any different
or any differently.
So what
I think that honestly, so there's this personal experience of, you know, and again, this is where there's a parallel between sexual orientation and gender identity. If you have to live the world in the world denying to yourself what your sexual orientation is, I mean, if you're a gay man and you somehow have decided either consciously or unconsciously that you're going to live it as a heterosexual male, well, I think it's going to be hard to really be fully actualized, self-actualized, to use a term that was common in the 60s and 70s. You're going to not be fully in touch, I think, with who you are. You're going to be walking around, maybe not with one leg dragging, but with at least a toe, dragging. And I was so lost with regard to my, suppressing who I was as a person, that I think it was hard for me to be happy. I think I might have said this in our last interview. As Roy, that was my name, my male name. As Roy, I counted my blessings. I would always say, okay, I'm happy because I have a wonderful family. I'm happy because I have a wonderful career. But as Deborah, I felt blessed. I didn't need to be sitting back.
So what is that difference, though? Since it's not really sexual in some ways, you at least started as Deborah experimenting with being with a woman, as a man would being with a woman. So what is the difference that makes you happy?
Well, I think, I'll talk a little less personally here by saying that many people transition and they have no libido at all. They didn't have libido before, they don't have it afterward. They're sort of asexual, but they are happier having transition.
Because?
They are just, it has to do with being who you feel you are.
Now that I understand, but I'm just...
So why am I happier?
Yeah, what does it mean who you... I mean...
For me, I feel whole.
It's not just because you dress differently.
No, absolutely not.
No, so what is that difference that it's at least escaping me? What is the difference in calling yourself a woman, which includes dressing as a woman? What is that makes you feel happy?
Well, I don't really... I think that's you're asking me to be a philosopher, I guess. I mean, if you won the $1 million lottery today, you'd probably be happy. And again, but you wouldn't necessarily be happy for the rest of your life.
Maybe I'll ask another way. Could you tell me an experience, just one, that you have as Deborah? Maybe something similar that you're running an office. That's a huge job. A huge job in.
I'll give you this one experience that might illustrate what it might be going on inside my mind on a subconscious level. Shortly after I had facial feminization surgery, began living full-time as Deborah, I walked outside of the apartment I was living at, and I saw these boys, young men, racing down the street in a convertible, blasting their radio really loud. And I said, I said to myself, oh, boys will be boys. Before, I used to think that boys were being jerks. Like this was just part of a stereotypical aspect of being male.
Right.
And I never could live up to that. And instead of being I felt like now I could accept, okay, I'm a woman. That's not me, what those boys are. I'm not in competition anymore.
Wow.
I was trying to fit in.
Yes.
Like
I
that's
know well.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably what's going on. I don't have to fit
Wow.
in as a male anymore. I looked a lot more. I passed a lot better as a male. I mean, that's the power of this whole thing. I passed a lot better as a male than I do as a female. If you see the way I walk, if you listen to my voice, if you hear some of the words that I use, I don't know, there's certainly some aspects that somebody would say, oh yeah, oh that's male, I kind of even doubt if that's really a female there. But that I still feel better inside. And it's because I'm not trying to micromanage my everyday living to fit.
Yes.
If you start doing this as a little child, you get pretty good at it.
I've done it myself to try to not be macho. It's not a easy transition for me either.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the reasons I have this beard is because my hair is so. People would call me ma'am when I went to visit my mother.
Really?
With hair like this.
Oh.
And so I balance it with a masculine
Oh.
symbol.
I always thought you were a man.
Yes. Well, I had my own challenges there. Too bad we don't have an hour.
Yeah.
So
Well, I do want to say something else in addition, is I can't deny that, in addition to this transition vis-a-vis my gender, my discovering who I am sexually is something that adds some panache to this whole thing. And I haven't really figured it all out yet, but it is sort of interesting and exciting.
Maybe you'll give us, we have 2.5 minutes. If you want to give us another wonderful example like you did with the car, of what it means to discover that you're now a woman sexually rather than a man sexually?
Well, no, I mean, women have sex with women, so I just feel like, I really am interested. It's more coming to terms with being honest with myself, that I really am interested in having sex with men,
yes.
having relations with men, and that my little bit of experience in having, dated men, really, it's I don't know if it adds validity to who I am as a woman. It feels right. It feels neat, and I'm just excited to potentially get the opportunity to experience more of what it means to be a woman dating men. I don't know where it will take me, but I'm up for the journey.
Well, you're extremely brave. You remember what I wrote you when you told all of your patients? That you were becoming a woman?
I forget what you told me.
I said it takes balls. Man.
Oh, yes, okay, you did. Okay, I thought that's what you might have said.
Yeah.
You weren't the only person who said that,
Oh,
though.
to
It's a
the-
good, yeah, you're creative, but you're not. There are other creative folks out there.
Yes.
But thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this, because I think it might get some people to think.
Well, it's a huge gift to me, and I'm sure to other people, to be braver in being ourselves. I still have a minute and a half, because I still am your patient. How was it different running Davis Square Family Practice as a woman, both running it even, isn't just the organization, let alone seeing patients?
It doesn't feel differently at all. It's kind of nice that most of the staff are female. As a matter of fact, there's one male nurse practitioner right now. But it's nice sort of being part. The women have taken me in. Oh yeah, they want to know about it. Well, I'm dating. It's kind of fun, and they're trying to help me out. They're worried about me. Watch out. It's cool. It's kind of a. It's more. There's a certain it's still professional. I'm still their boss, but it's not. I'm able to keep that dichotomy in check. I'm having fun with that.
And with female patients?
I have more female patients now.
And how was it with them? Any different as a male versus is it easier?
I think for some of them, I think they're maybe more willing to confide in me on certain things, but I think for most of them, it's not that much different.
Well, thank you, Deborah.
Yeah.
We're saying goodbye. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.